kicked out, a vicious, rat-like motion, a hysterical spasm. His foot connected solidly, and the creature rose in the air and fell heavily at the base of the fence in the dim wet light from the street. It was a small white dog, 3/4 starved. It yipped twice, faintly, tried to rise, and could not. When Gurlick saw it was helpless, he laughed aloud and ran to it and kicked it and stamped on it until it was dead. And with each blow, his vengeance became more mighty. There went Al, and there the 2 barflies, and one for the cops, and one for all judges and jailers, and a good one for everyone in the world who owned anything, and to top it, one for the rain. He was a pretty big man by the time he was finished. Out of breath, he wheezed back to the garbage can and felt around until he found the bun. It was sodden and slippery, but it was half a hamburger which some profligate had tossed into the alley, and that was all that mattered. He wiped it on his sleeve, which made no appreciable difference to sleeve or bun, and crammed the doughy, greasy mass into his mouth. He stepped out into the light and looked up through the mist at the square shoulders of the buildings that stood around to watch him. He was a man who had fought for, killed for what was rightfully his. "Don't mess with me," he growled at the city. A kind of intoxication flooded him. He felt the way he did at the beginning of that dream he was always having, where he would walk down a dirt path beside a lake, feeling good, feeling strong and expectant, knowing he was about to come to the pile of clothes on the bank. He wasn't having the dream just then, he knew. He was too cold and too wet. But he squared his shoulders anyway. He began to walk, looking up. He told the world to look out. He said he was going to shake it up and dump it and stamp on its fat face. "You going to know Dan Gurlick passed this way," he said. He was perfectly right this time, because it was in him now. It had been in the hamburger, and before that in the horse from which most of the hamburger had been made, and before that in 2 birds, one after the other, which had mistaken it for a berry. Before that, it's hard to say. It had fallen into a field, that's all. It was patient, and quite content to wait. When the first bird ate it, it sensed it was in the wrong place, and did nothing, and the same thing with the second. When the horse's blunt club of a tongue scooped it up with a clutch of meadow grass, it had hopes for a while. It straightened itself out after the horse's teeth flattened it and left the digestive tract early, to shoulder its way between cells and fibers until it rested in a ganglion. There it sensed another disappointment, and high time, too. Once it penetrated into the neuron chains, its nature would be irreversibly changed, and it would have been with the horse for the rest of its life. As, in fact, it was. But after the butcher's blade missed it, and the meat grinder wrung it, pinched it, stretched it, but in no way separated any part of it from any other, it could still go on about its job when the time came. 8 months in the deep freeze affected it not at all, nor did hot fat. It was sold from a pushcart with a bag full of other hamburgers, and wound up in the bottom of the bag. The boy who bit into this particular hamburger was the only human being who ever saw it. It looked like a boiled raisin, or worse. The boy had had enough by then anyway. He threw it into the alley. The rain began in earnest. Gurlick's exultation faded, his shoulders hunched, his head went down. He slogged through the wet